I now have a Discord, so click the link in the description to join. All the way back in 2007, Bungie introduced armor customization to the world of Halo, and it forever changed the way players could express themselves in the game. Back then, games didn't have 50 different helmets with 100 variants or so all of these helmets would have to stand out. Halo 3 introduced fan-favorite helmets such as EVA, EOD, and the legendary Recon, just to name a few. So when 12 brand new helmets were added to the game, all with a completely different art style in mind, some fans weren't too happy. But what if these new helmets were remade to fit Halo 3's look? It's time to redesign Halo. Greetings, Vernissage here. In this episode of Redesigning Halo, we'll be taking a look at the highly controversial Halo Online helmets. I'll try my best to redesign these helmets to fit the art style Bungie were going for back in Halo 3, while still keeping the essence of the helmets. Just know, I will change some of these helmets quite a lot. But like I said, I'll try to keep what I like to call the soul of the helmet intact. Without any further ado, let's begin. The Deadeye helmet has a very striking design. Not only because of its slim and blocky look, but because of its unique visor. Instead of the more common horizontal visor, the Deadeye goes for a fully symmetrical shape. The helmet is also unusually tall, almost resembling that of an actual human head. I'll be using Recon as my inspiration, since that's one of the more slim Halo 3 helmets. And this is what I came up with. What's very noticeable right away is how I added a bunch of black parts. These give the helmet some weight, and a clear distinction of the different parts of the helmet. And like Recon, I gave it some quote-unquote eyeliner to really make the visor pop. Speaking of the visor, it's been heavily altered. While the original design had a more symmetrical star-shaped visor, this was changed to be more horizontal, like, say, Recon. I simply felt that Halo 3's design language didn't allow a visor that's simply a rounded plus sign. But I made sure to keep the soul of the visor. Lastly, I simplified the jaw and the circular parts of the sides to make the design more unified. The result is a very distinct and straight-to-the-point helmet. Its star-shaped visor and simple silhouette gives it a very sneaky and compact look. If you've played any of the 343 games, chances are you've either seen or worn the soldier helmet yourself. The most notable aspect of the sleek and thin helmet used to be how thin its visor is. But the version we see here has a much more prominent visor, along with a single visor line. It also features this distinct mouthpiece, almost resembling, well, a mouth. To really bring this in line with a truly classic look, I'll be using the Mark 6 as my main source of inspiration. And this is the result. I wasn't planning to, but I ended up changing the helmet quite a lot. I quickly realized the bottom front part was way too convoluted, with too many smooth and rounded parts. So I made everything much more blocky and angular, even the top part, which previously went for a very rounded look. I decided to keep the mouth of the soldier helmet, to not stray too far away from the original design. And to fill in the grey area around the mouthpiece, I added something akin to the tubes of the Mark 6. As for the visor, I could have kept the line, but because of how small the visor is, it didn't really need it. And as a finishing touch, I gave it some Mark 6-ish lights on the sides. The final result is a blockified version of the soldier helmet. While it differs a lot from the source material, the shape of the visor and the recognizable mouthpiece makes it look as if it's a precursor to the soldier helmet we all know. The 3's take on the Aero Assault helmet is one of the more universally well-liked of their games. While it features a lot more details than the original Halo 3 helmets, it's definitely one of, if not the most safe helmet out of the Halo Online armors. It features a tall visor, protruding what I like to call ears, and an overall angular look. And since they share a lot of similarities, the ODST helmet will be my main source of inspiration. And here's my redesign. First thing I did was making the visor bigger. While it was already quite big, I feel like if a Halo 3 helmet is gonna have a big visor, then it should be big. The secret to creating a Halo 3 helmet is that you should be able to identify the helmet from far away and not mistake it for some other helmet. So to make sure you wouldn't confuse it with the ODST, I also made the nose piece much more prominent. I made the vents on the side black as well as the eyeliner. And finally, I simplified the visor line, the ears, and the top and lower part. The helmet keeps all the parts necessary to the look of the Aero Assault, but exaggerates them a bit and makes them much clearer. These changes make for a much more identifiable helmet. It's time for a more interesting helmet, the Hive Mind. This is probably one of the most controversial helmets that were added to the MCC. Not only is it shaped like a human head, but it has something resembling a mouth with a full set of teeth. And don't even get me started on the eyes. As you know, I usually keep my videos completely void of any of my own thoughts, but this helmet keeps me up at night. It's hard seeing any Halo 3 helmets resembling the Hive Mind, but EOD is probably the best inspiration I can have, due to its sorta similar eyes. And here's what I came up with. As you might have guessed, I reworked pretty much the entire thing. I started by moving down all the eyes, especially the top one, and putting them closer together. And then to give it the illusion of being a bit more normal, I gave it an eyeliner in the shape of a visor. This way, it kinda looks like the three googly eyes are sort of an attachment to the visor. I knew I had to keep the mouth-looking vent, so I made it a little clearer. I reworked the entire top part to become more blocky instead of the unusually curved look of the original. Other than that, and some minor details, the design still keeps the unsettling look. The result is something a bit more believable and practical. The black part in the middle and the placement of the eyes heavily alters the Hive Mind's look, but still keeps the very out there design. The Navigator is a very organic helmet. There are barely any straight lines. Everything's curved and wavy, giving it sort of a fantasy vibe. The visor is placed quite high up, and just like most of these helmets, it's fairly small. In fact, the entire helmet is tiny. Due to the placement of the visor, I'll be using the EVA helmet as my inspiration. And here's my design. I made sure to increase the size of not only the visor, but the entire helmet. I tried my best to keep the overall look of the shapes of the original, while still making them more blocky and simple. I gave it an eyeliner, some vents, and made the part above the visor black, to give the design some needed depth. I also gave it a prominent visor line, to give the rather open visor some eyes. What we ended up with is still a very unique design. I wanted to keep the weird and fantastical appearance, so the helmet might be a bit out there for a Halo 3 helmet, but I like it. For my last design, I chose Warrior. Just like the Soldier and Aero Assault helmet, Warrior has already been in both Halo 4 and 5. It's known for its beefy and muscular look, something a lot of 343's helmets tend to stay away from. The most recognizable aspect of the Warrior helmet is the mouthpiece, with the iconic 5 holes. It's also usually known for the thin visor, but the version we see here is much more open, and even features some simple visor lines. My inspiration will once again be the Mark 6, as I feel like the Warrior helmet has already taken some inspiration from it, especially with the new visor. And here's what I came up with. What's very noticeable right away is how I cleaned up the sides, where it used to be filled to the brim with details. I also made the top part of the helmet much more angular, instead of the more organic look of the original. The mouthpiece was kept mostly intact, just simplified and more straight. The visor was cleaned up a bit, and I replaced the 2 visor lines with a single semicircle line. I just thought this gave the design some more clear eyes. The final result is a safe, but very Halo 3-ish helmet. It keeps the overall silhouette of the original, while cleaning up all unnecessary detail, to give it a clear and simple look. And that's it. Those were all the redesigns I made for this video. All very different from the source material, while still keeping what made those helmets unique in the first place. Let me know what you think of these designs. Did I succeed in making them fit Halo 3's art style? Which one is your favorite? And there are some Halo Online helmets I didn't redesign for this video, so let me know if you'd like to see those as well. Now, I'm not saying I'm doing a better job than 343. I mean, I can't imagine how much work they've got with Halo Infinite, so I understand why they can't hire someone to completely redesign all these helmets. It's much easier to just put them in the game as they are. I just thought it'd be fun to see how these helmets would look if they were made in 2007. If you like this video, give it a like. If not, a dislike. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I wish you all the best, and take care. Vernissage, out.